Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. I look forward to our time together this morning. We can connect for a time of reflection and introspection. We welcome you here this morning to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Dave Bianchi, and I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. Know that we welcome all to be part of us, regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. You know, if you're someone who's viewing this and it's your first exposure to us, feel free to contact our office or our website for more information. You can also click the link in the chat box to fill out the newcomer form. You can sign up for our newsletter that keeps you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. And you may notice at the top of your screen, there's a speaker gallery view, so you can toggle back and forth for however you want to view this service. Also, you can look at the upper right corner of your picture and find 3 dots and look for a rename and change the name for your picture so that we can say hello and know who you are and just say hi. You'll remain muted throughout this service, but you can make comments on the chat box anytime, and you're invited to join us for coffee time after the service. Well, I'm excited to introduce our worship leader for today's service, the Reverend Summer Albayati. She's a UU Muslim of Iraqi descent who's been playing the Arabic drum professionally since the age of 12. And serving congregations, her focus was on transformation by emphasizing that a mission-focused congregation increases vitality, membership, commitment to justice, and love. Reverend Summer hosts a podcast called the Bayat Beat, a commentary on society and culture with an emphasis on social justice, which has a global audience. She also has a chapter in the anthology Centering, Navigating Race, Authenticity, and Power in Ministry, published by Skinner House. And Reverend Summer serves as our primary contact in the Pacific Western region of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So thank you for being with us, Reverend Summer.
Love Beyond God by Adam Lawrence Dyer. What if every time you woke, your sigh was felt by every being on earth? What if every time you spoke, your words were heard by every ear on earth? What if when you told a joke, you tickled the senses of every smile on earth? What if with each tender stroke you shared your touch with every hand on earth? What if when your heart broke, you tasted the tears running down every cheek on earth? No bond or brand or gilded yoke. Surely this is love that reaches beyond, that holds one to another and every other to one, no matter the color or where we're from. This is now. This is we. This is love. This is God. And this is love beyond God. I want to invite you to light your own chalice, if you have it, as I say the words by Molly Brewer. This is a chalice lighting for when things aren't okay. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now, that there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now, our chalice is lit. And so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love.
And we see our faces in each other's eyes. There is a holy place when our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts are within, and we feel the power of each other's faith. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
The reading this morning is called The Water of Hajjad by Moajja Kaf. Hajjad is the Arabic name, the Arabic pronouncement, the pronunciation of Hagar from the biblical text. The Water of Hajjad. After the searing light, after abandonment, after the blow that brings the head to the ground and breaks the teeth, after the unrelenting vision, after the God who requires blood and obedience, how do you find water? It has no content. It is the cupping of the face. It is the wiping of the forehead. It cools the lips and moves without words. It is almost not visible. Between thorn and rocks, where on this earth is the water of Hajar, the water that came up from the ground of Hajar, given freely by the God of Hajar?
Well, this is the time of our service when we have the opportunity to share our bounty with each other. You can do this by virtually texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send, then follow the instructions to provide your offering. And we're sharing the plate this month with this wonderful, wonderful Verdi posse. Now, many members of our fellowship are involved in helping feed our neighbors without homes. So contact Jane Dunn for more detailed information, and you have to text separately from your offering. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, 89511. But the slickest and cleanest way to donate is to sign up for automatic giving. That's what Lois and I do, and it works great. So check with the office, and Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization form. Well, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has stepped forward to make our fellowship financially secure in these uncertain times. And if it's at all possible, because so many have been affected by our situation, that some can't make their commitments. So if you can, give more, give beyond your pledge. I'm feeling positive that by all of us stepping up, we'll be stronger than ever. So thank you for taking care of our beloved community. Now let the offering begin.
Departing is another stage of living. You must know that never far away. Every trial and fear, every lonely year you find, think of me, think of me. I am with you. There was never a question. There was never a doubt. Love is holding us always.
That was wonderful. Thank you to the choir and our director, Bill Quinby. And I'd like you to join me now as we bless these offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves, and these are our offerings.
Where on earth is the water of Hajar? That's a good question. Moaja Kaf, the poet of our reading, asks this of us because if anyone knows of the struggle of Hajar, they know that her life was not easy. As you will recall, Hajar was gifted to Abraham in order to provide a son since Sarah was barren. Right away, we see that this act is one steeped in patriarchy and privilege. The idea that one can own another and force them to procreate, and the thought that women are to be used for the sole purpose of providing an heir, may leave some of us with a bad taste in our mouth. Then we see in the story that Sarah miraculously becomes pregnant, and now there are 2 heirs. We know that Sarah, possibly jealous and fearful, demands that Hajar and Ishmael be sent away. So Abraham obliges and brings them to the desert with only a little food and water, basically to die. What happens next? Well, we know that Hajar finds water through the help of God. Now, the Islamic version of this story is slightly different in that Hajar runs around frantically 7 times between 2 mountains. Then the angel appears to her and shows her where to dig for the water. She and Ishmael survive, and then a tribe comes to stay with them. It is there that a grand new civilization is built, thus beginning the journey of the Islamic peoples. Though the biblical rendition may view Hajar as a concubine or slave girl, the Islamic one views Hajar as a wife, and possibly even the daughter of Pharaoh who gifted Hajar to Sarah. Thus, when viewed this way, we may think that Hajar should be on equal footing with Sarah, since she is Abraham's wife and quite possibly not from a lesser status than Sarah. We may wonder why Abraham then still discards Hajar and his son Ishmael. Kaf's poem reminds us that we are still dealing with patriarchy and notions that marginalized peoples can be discarded, that women and children can still be discarded, their status not as important as others, making them invisible and silenced. So let us center Hajar's voice here. Where on earth is the water of Hajar? The story of Hajar is not just about a mother who found water for her baby son in a desert where none was to be found. It is about a Black woman from Egypt, a wife, a mother, a woman who was abandoned by her husband, left in the desert, left to hear the sacred cries of her child longing to eat and drink, left to pray, cry, fear, hunger, thirst, and then find the courage to move, act, search, and believe. It is about a woman who had to embody the Islamic concept sabr wa iman, patience and faith, and courageously act to find that water and build a great nation. How many of us can relate? For some, this pandemic and the response from our government has been like being abandoned in the desert, trying to survive, searching for the water, the healing water that will literally save us. We have had to be patient, mourn loss, cry for help, thirst, move, act, and through it all have faith that the saving water would appear. Today, for some, we celebrate a new presidency and transference of power, and the first ever woman vice president who is Black and South Asian. Yes, I see those claps, those cheers, right? And I am reminded of the suffragettes who fought for the right to vote. I'm reminded of the civil rights era and the struggle for Black and brown people to be accepted as equal to whites. I am reminded and grateful that many of us acted to make this happen. We worked hard and with courage and were patient and had faith. For many, there has been a sigh of relief felt and a feeling that a new day has emerged. The healing water after a long sojourn in the desert has been finally found. But for others, the desert remains and the water is still lost. Some are mourning the deaths of beloved friends and family. I know I have experienced my share of loss to this pandemic, losing beloved friends and colleagues, and I long for that water to heal us all. Others are without jobs, homeless, without health insurance, suffering from extreme poverty and inequality, some experiencing food deprivation, others as recipients of systemic racism and oppressions of indigenous peoples, undocumented immigrants, Blacks, Muslims, Latinx, our LGBTQ siblings, just to name a few. And I ask, where is the water for them? After the searing light, after abandonment, after the blow that brings the head to the ground and breaks the teeth, after the unrelenting vision, after the God who requires blood and obedience, how do you find water? So many are suffering. So many are suffering because the dream of the beloved community still is not realized in these United States. And yet, the water is there under the surface. We just need to keep digging. Dr. Amina Wadud, Islamic feminist theologian, asks, if we are to choose between a God that abandons us, one reflecting a patriarchal notion that Hajar can be discarded and abandoned in the desert by Abraham, or a God that gives life-giving water, perhaps a divine feminine aspect of God. With the election of Kamala Harris, the first woman vice president, I say it again, is it possible we are moving away from patriarchal notions of government and more toward the embracing of systems that will rid ourselves of patriarchy and allow for the divine feminine to reign? Will there finally be a healing of the earth and reversal of climate change so that we won't deal with another pandemic that has taken so much from us again? And will this divine feminine aspect of God equal to the other patriarchal aspect of God help us with wars raging on the streets of America? See, not everyone is ready to breathe a sigh of relief just because the transference of power just took place. There are those who are still taking to the streets in protest because massive inequalities still exist, regardless of who is in the White House. And those marching in the streets call us to look at our systems that promote the ideology that some lives are worth more than others, that some jobs are worth more than others, that some people's fears are worth more than others. And so some worry about what will happen next. As we watch hundreds of those who terrorized our elected officials just a few weeks ago being arrested for an attempted coup. Will arrests stop the various groups from attempting a coup again, or taking to the streets and counter protest, or worse? Where on the earth is the water of Hajar? Adam Lawrence Dyer in The Call to Worship calls us to a deeper compassion for one another that is a love beyond God. And I wonder, what does that look like? Can we truly hear every word and taste every tear? Can we learn to deeply listen and feel the pains of those most suffering? And then act in their best interests, centering their voices as we have now done for Hajar? Is this what is meant by love beyond God? What I do know is this: we cannot stop searching for the healing water that is needed for us all. We cannot stop building a new America, one that truly provides a land where all are created equal, and a recognition that all have been endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If anything, the Hajar story teaches us that with patience and faith, the water will be found, and we will survive and thrive and build up a great nation. But I wonder what must be destroyed in order to create the way of love beyond God. Perhaps an extension of God, a creation of something beyond what God had even envisioned. A place where love and compassion truly is felt by every molecule on this earth. That's the America I want to create. As the nation's first ever youth poet laureate, Amanda Gorman, using the concept of light stated in her inaugural speech, when day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find the light in this never-ending shade? We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover, and every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When the day comes, we step out of the shade aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Be brave, beloveds. Patience and faith. We will build a new way. We will find the water, the healing balm for all, only if we search and dig for it together, because it is there. Let us step out of the shade and embrace new ways of being, not steeped in patriarchy, but in life-giving freedoms, because that just may be love beyond God. And that may be what the Hajjars of the world need now more than ever. Where on earth is the water of Hajjar? It's here. It is us. It is love. We will create it together and be that love beyond God. May it be so. Amin, Ashe, and blessed be.
When I breathe in love. When I breathe out peace. When I breathe in love. When I breathe out peace.
Thank you, Reverend Summer. That was absolutely beautiful. You know, I always look forward to this time in the service when we have a chance to find out what's happening in your life, your joys, your concerns. And if you're comfortable doing so, just go to the chat box and put a note. Let us know what's happening with you. Or you can just relax and listen to the music of Bill Quinby. I'd like to close our prayer and meditation with a reading from Elizabeth Nguyen. As Unitarian Universalists, our journey is to transform the big and the small, to transform ourselves, and to transform the world. Universalism means no one is outside of the circle of love, and no one is disposable. We stubbornly seek out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what. Interdependence means none of us is truly free until we are all free, and our thriving is bound up in the earth's thriving. We struggle for liberation from the violence of white supremacy, sexism, ableism, classism, and heterosexism. Our covenants mean we make promises to our communities to honor love and justice above all else. Well, thank you for joining us today. You know, watch your email for all the programming that goes on here at UUFNN. If you need help with Zoom or any other kind of support, or you know someone who does, let us know. Connect with us. If you'd like to receive our emails, you can fill out the online card. You can share this link with folks that may be feeling isolated or may need some connection. We're going to have our coffee time in about 3 minutes after our closing song and benediction. So I hope you can stay on for our small group conversations. I have a few announcements about some upcoming events. Today from 2 to 3:30, you can celebrate the music of civil rights. This program's the first in a monthly series tracing the history of civil rights, then and now, on a journey through time from draconian Jim Crow laws into Mississippi to understand the tragedy and triumph of freedom rides and freedom summer, and finally to Selma, Alabama, and to Selma to Montgomery March for voting rights. So this program will feature big names in social justice, music makers. These amazing artists will share music of the civil rights movement then and now, and provide context and understanding of the role music played and continues to play in justice movement. So come sing along. And this week, 30 Days of Love continues, helping us focus on 4 themes designed to support transforming white supremacy and other oppressions in the institutional history and practices of the UUA and our congregations. So each week-long offering has a variety of ways to participate. There's music, readings, videos, worship service, music. So participate all week, as little or as much as you can. So let us know what you're learning. And you can email Kristen Famula. On Tuesday evening at 5:30, you can join to celebrate the accomplishments of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. So you'll be heartened by the accomplishments of the UUSC, that's the UU Service Committee, which for 80 years has been working to end systemic injustice around the world. So you'll hear from Reverend Laurel Randall of the UUSC staff and other folks who will share videos showing how the UUSC works and the inspiring results of that work. And then by popular demand next weekend, we're going to start back on the what you can do about climate change. So on the 30th and the 31st from 2 to 3:30. You know, climate change can feel like an overwhelming problem, but taking some positive steps in our own lives can empower us and help us join the larger movement to build a great future. And then on Sunday, immediately following the service, family and children and youth are invited to learn how to participate in our Sunday service as a service leader. So join us on the 31st for an overview of opportunities for you to be involved. So look for details in the upcoming service, and we look forward to learning more. So thank you for that. And now let's go to the closing song.
Please rise as you're willing and able. Well, it's been a while since I've been able to say that. We got a little movement on this one. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that's the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
That's right.
I close with this benediction by the famous UU minister Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine, the good heart, its creed, all truth, its ritual, works of love, its profession of faith, divine living.